Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we'll be completing in today's video, this cute spring bee landscape kind of illustration. We draw everything by hand. It's really fun, lots of fun to add all the different details and stuff and kind of bring the whole picture together, and it turns out super cute in the end. But I will walk you through it step by step and make it as easy as possible. It is not as hard as it looks, I promise. So if you're new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon. That's linked in the description below if you want to check that out. If you join over there, you get access to exclusive tutorials every month, along with sneak peeks of what we're drawing over here on YouTube. And if you join now, you get access to all of the tutorials that I've posted there thus far. So lots and lots of ones to choose from last year and the year before that, and it really helps support me as I keep making these free tutorials here on YouTube. Oh, before we get started on today's drawing, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just save the file to your iPad and then double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. And then I will post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed here on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with today. So let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to start by making our background. We're going to put it all on layer 1 instead of changing our background color layer. So we're going to leave our background color layer alone, but we'll be on layer 1. We'll grab our first color on our first row of the color palette and we'll drag and drop it to fill the whole canvas to be our sky in the background. We'll wait until we get our hills in place to make this slight gradient, but we do have these two lighter blue colors that we'll use to make it get a little lighter towards the bottom where the hill is, but we need our hill in place first to do that. Then same thing with our sun and cloud color here. We'll wait until everything's in place to add those as well. So our first hill color is the first of our greens on the top row, the 6th one in line. So I'm going to grab that. So we'll go to our layer menu, add a new layer. I am going to go to my monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. We'll use this quite a bit today along with a couple other brushes. So find that. The opacity for my brush here is at 100. My size will do 30. And I'm just going to make my first hill. I'm going to make it about halfway, maybe a little higher than halfway from top to bottom. So if this is about halfway, I'll maybe go a little bit higher than that. And then we'll just make like a rough little hill shape kind of going like this. So do that a few times if you need to. Drawing pretty quick helps you get a nice kind of smooth line. And then we'll fill in below it. If you want to, you can grab it with your arrow tool on freeform, and you can drag this up or down if you need to make it taller or shorter on your canvas. But again, a little over halfway in the back is good, so we have plenty of room below it for our other hill and our flowers and everything. Let's just get our other hill in place before we start doing anything else. So on my layer menu, I'm going to add a new layer above the other one. Grab my first of my second hill colors, which is the first one on the second row. And then same brush and everything. I'm going to start a little lower and maybe make a hill like different, so different peak area. Maybe it'll kind of peak just like more in the middle, something like that. And then go ahead and fill that in. Again, grab with your arrow tool, extend it up or down if you need to. This one's maybe like covering about a third of the bottom of our canvas or so. And we'll have room for our flowers and our bees and stuff. So again, move these up at all if you need to. But I think that looks good. Okay, now we can kind of continue on with everything else. So I'm going to go back to my sky layer, layer 1 here, and we are going to just add in our little colors, our lighter colors on the same layer. So same layer as our big filled in rectangle. We're going to grab our second color on the top row, and then we're going to switch our brush to the gouache brush under the painting category, which we're going to use quite a bit today as well. So find that. I'll have my opacity 100, size, let's go pretty high, maybe like 20%. And we're just going to start maybe like a third of the way down from what we can see, so maybe about here. And I'm just going to go across kind of lightly and working my way down. So leaving that darker color at the top, like so. And then kind of working my way down, picking my brush up a couple times as I get closer to like the lower side to kind of make it a little thicker there. Then we'll grab our next color, third one on the top row, and kind of start there and go again, making it even lighter towards the bottom there. But we get a little bit of texture in between, which is nice. So something like that for our sky. Okay, let's go ahead and get our clouds in place, and then we'll place our sun behind them, but I like to do my clouds first. So layer menu, I'm going to add a new layer above our layer 1, so we're below our hill layers, and I'm going to grab my white color, fifth one on the top row. Same brush, we can start it, let's start at maybe like 10% for our size. And I'm just going to essentially make some little cloud shapes. So starting at the bottom here, under the hill, I'm going to kind of come up along the right side here, something like this, fill all this in, and then we can pick our brush up and kind of go over it again to make it a little brighter in some areas so that we get a little bit more like texture and variation. So something kind of like that for the cloud there. Same thing on the other side. I'll start, make the initial kind of cloud shape, something like this. Then go back through, fill in some other areas a time or two to kind of get some more definition. Going over the edge a few times too to kind of like make some like wispier pieces that make it look more cloud-like. Okay, so I did like one on each side, then I'll do a couple in the middle in the sky itself. So same size, or you can change your size if you want to, but I'm just going to kind of push lighter and harder as I go, making a little cloud shape, picking my brush up a couple times, but leaving some of the wispier edges. Something like that. Then maybe I'll do another one here. Maybe like longer, but like flatter. Pick my brush up a couple times. Maybe something like that for my clouds. Nice and simple. Now we can get our sun in place. So our sun's going to go below our clouds. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, add a new layer above my layer 1 again. Now we'll grab our sun color, fourth one on the top row, and go back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab so that we can make a nice, smooth, perfect circle. So to do that, I'm just going to make a circle shape all the way around, hold it down until it turns nice and smooth, and then you can touch your finger on the screen and it'll set it to a perfect circle. Set kind of whatever size you want. We can still resize it in a second, so go ahead and fill it in. Grab it with our arrow tool. Make sure we're on uniform now so that we don't lose the shape of the circle. So then if you want to resize it, you can do so. You can move it around. Kind of place it wherever here. I'm going to place it maybe like right about here or something for now. You can always move it around later if we would like to. Okay, that's it for that. Let's go ahead and move on now to our hills. So the first thing that we need to do to our hills is make a grass texture across the top so we don't have this really smooth line anymore. So I'm just going to go to my layer 2 here that has my back hill on it. And we're going to go back to that same color, which is the sixth one on the top row. And what we're going to do is go down to for our brush, go down to our organic category. We want to use this swordgrass brush, but if we grab that really quick, the swordgrass, you'll see it changes color. And we don't want that. We want it all to be this standard color so that it blends in and we just get the texture of the brush itself. So to do that, I'm going to go to my brush library and open this up, make a duplicate of our swordgrass brush, so slide to left on it, hit duplicate, so that we don't mess with our original one. The original one's still there, but we're on this swordgrass 1 or 2 with this little Procreate symbol. That means it's like a duplicate, and we're going to click on that one and open it up. We're going to go to color dynamics, and this is where we can change things. So I am just going to change all of these hue, saturation, lightness, and darkness all to 0 or none. So do that, and then when we click done, go back in and you'll see now we just get the same color, so there's no color dynamics going on. And that's what we want to see for this particular case. So once we have our new brush ready to go, my opacity is at 100, my size we're going to do pretty low, like let's do like 5%. And it does change, like if you push harder, you get a little bit bigger pieces. So we're going to push pretty light just across the top edge here. We're going to push really light, kind of just starting from like where our monoline brush line is and just kind of poking up from that. So we just get a few little grass blades across the top like this. So we're going to do that all the way down. Just kind of poking up from below our hill. We're on the same layer, but just kind of starting in the middle where it's thick and just working our way towards the edge so we get that texture just on the edge there. All the way across. Like so. So that's what it should look like now. We want to do the same thing for this front hill, maybe a little bit bigger texture so we can see it a little bit better. So on my layer menu, I'm going to go to that layer, layer 3 at the very top of all my layers right now. Grab that same color, first one on the second row, and we are going to do our same brush. We might increase the size a little bit to like 7 or 8%, or just push a little harder, and we'll get like some slightly bigger grass like this. So it looks a little bit bigger than our previous hill grass. So do that all the way across, and then that is it for that part of our hills. So now we can add the texture, like color differentiation to them. So on my layer menu, I'm going to go back to my previous hill layer, layer 2, click on it and just turn on alpha lock. So that means we only draw within the shape that we have laid down. Again, the base color for that was the 6th one on the top row. We're going to go to the 7th one on the top row, slightly lighter, and add some texture. We're going to switch back to our ghost brush under the painting category. We'll maybe still be at like 10% or so. And I'm just going to make some quick kind of like wavy or like kind of horizontal like lines that kind of go along with the shape of our hill. So just here and there so that we can still see some of our base color through it, but just to add some kind of quick variation to it, like so. Same thing for our front hill, but we'll have a few more colors. So front hill layer at the very top of our layer, when you click on it and turn on alpha lock, the base color for that was our first color in the second row. So I have a lighter, a darker, and kind of a yellowy one. So we're going to use all 3 of those. Let's start with our lighter one, second one on the second row. Same brush and same thing. I'm just going to kind of follow the shape of the hill in a few different little like bands like this. Sometimes pushing lighter, sometimes a little harder so that we get some good kind of texture and variation going on. Okay, then we'll switch to our darker color, third one on the second row. Same thing. Just kind of adding that in there too for some more variation, pretty lightly, but just kind of throughout. Then our yellow color, 4th one on the second row, and we're going to throw that in as well just to give our grass a little bit more kind of sunshiny look to it. But again, very lightly with that as well. And then if you want to go back in with any of your other colors again, like the base color, the lighter color, anything like that, you can do so till you get a good kind of textured piece like this that you like. Okay, once that's done, we're going to draw our trees in now. So the trees that are on this back hill are going to be behind it, so we just see kind of like the cut off like trunk of them up, and then they kind of go up into the sky a little bit. And the trees on the front hill are going to be in front of it so we can see their trunks. So we'll just go piece by piece. We're going to start with our back one. So I'm going to go above my cloud layer and add a layer above that one. So we're underneath our hill above our clouds. I'm going to grab our first trunk color, which is the 8th one on the top row, and go back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. I'm just going to set the size to 100%, and I'm just going to make some really quick little trunks, just like some quick kind of lines down the hill. So one there. Maybe we'll do a couple kind of closer together, and then maybe over here. So the top of the trunk will be covered up, so no need to worry about it too much, but we just want something there. So make them tall enough that we can cover them. So maybe something like that. Okay, layer menu, I'm going to add a layer above that one. We're going to grab our first tree color, the 9th one on the top row, and back to our ghost brush under the painting category. I'm probably going to lower my size to maybe like 5%. And for each tree, I'm just going to make a nice tree shape. So I'm just going to kind of make like a long triangle like this. Then I'm going to go over it again and again through the middle to kind of cover up the top of that trunk there so that we don't see any of that, and then kind of fluff it out on the edges here and there. Maybe a couple like round motions, something kind of like this, just to give it some fluff on the edges, but a nice good covering of the tree trunk at the bottom. So same thing for each of them. Try to make them all similar in size and shape, but they don't have to be perfect. But again, get that tree trunk covered by picking up your brush a few times. Make a good little tree shape. And then move on to the next one. And we will add some highlights to it as well. So it won't be so flat looking in the end, but use our brush to give it some texture. That one's got a little crooked on me. That's okay though. It looks cute. Okay, So then we end up with something like that for our back trees to start. I'll just add the highlight to it now. So on my layer menu, I'm just going to click on this layer with the trees on them and turn on alpha lock. Grab our lighter color, last one on the top row, and we're just going to kind of start in the direction of the sun. So the sun's like to the very right of this one. So I'm going to just hit the right side with this lighter color a few times to brighten it up there, but adding some good texture as I go. Same thing for this one, it's to the right of it. And to the right of this guy. So something like that. Then this one, it's kind of like straight up and maybe on the left side a little bit. So just kind of use whatever works for your trees. Very simple in the background though, because those are farther away. The ones that are closer to us will add a little bit more detail to them, like with shadows and highlights. Or with a really darker color and then a few colors of highlights. So again, that's it for the back ones. Layer menu. Now for our last trees, we're going to add them above our top hill. So add a layer to the very top of all of our layers. Grab our other trunk color. It's a little bit darker, the fifth one on the second row. And our monoline brush again. And we're actually going to lower our size to like 30% again. And we're going to kind of make the tree trunk shapes themselves. So back before when they were behind here, we just needed a tree trunk that went behind there. But now that we can see the bottom of it, I'm going to start maybe about here and make like a real kind of tree trunk shape, something like this, thinner at the top, thicker at the bottom, kind of like a straight or curvy line at the bottom like so. So something like that. I'll do just 3 of those. So maybe I'll do one a little higher. Again, we're covering up the top, so no need to worry about that too much. And they can look pretty kind of wobbly and natural. That's okay. And then we'll maybe make one over here. Like so. Okay, now to make the trees themselves. Layer menu, a new layer above this one. Grab our next color in line, 6th one on the second row. And back to our gouache brush. Same size as before is good, 5%. I'm going to start on this left one, same things as before, just maybe a little bit bigger since we're a little closer. But again, picking up our brush multiple times, going over that trunk and through the middle to really thicken that up. But then, yeah, kind of like making some kind of wiggly or curvy little pieces on the edge to give us some good kind of texture there. Same thing for our next one, maybe a little taller because the tree trunk's maybe a little taller. Maybe something like that. And then maybe one more here. And it's okay if it goes over this back one. That's okay. I'm going to move it just because I don't like that they overlapped. But you can leave them overlapped if you want. Does not matter. Okay, so there's my 3 front trees. So if you want to move a back tree, any of these, you can go to your layer menu. You need to select both of your back tree layers, or we can snap them together since they're done. So I have the tree tops here and the tree trunks below it. I'm going to snap those onto the same layer because those are done. Or if not, you can select, if you want to leave them separate, you can select both layers. So select one, slide right on the other one to select them both. So you need the tree tops and trunks selected, either on one layer or separate layers. Grab your selection tool. On freehand, make sure color fill is turned off. And I'm just going to select around one, connect to the dot to select it. Grab it with your arrow tool and it'll just select just that tree, and then you can move it over or anything like that. And you can do the same thing if you need to rotate a tree. Like this one got a little crooked on me, which is fine, but if you want to, you could always just grab it and then rotate it a little bit or resize it or anything like that. I think that looks better for my picture, like so. Okay, so the trees are in place now. I just need to finish off these main tree pieces in the front. So I'm going to go back to my layer menu, go back to my tree top layer on the very top of my layers, click on it and turn on alpha lock. And that was the darkest color. So then I have 2 lighter colors to work with. So I'm going to grab my next one in line, 7th one on the second row, same gouache brush, starting again on the top or rights of these ones. I'm going to go in pretty far with this on the top and right side, adding some good kind of variety and variation. Then we have 1 lighter color still, so just do a good bit of that. Same thing here. I'll do again like kind of the left side, closer to the sun. Okay, then our next color in line, 8th one on the second row, same thing. I'll start there, not going in as far, just hitting the right side or left side a little bit more at the very edge there to give some more variation on our trees. Okay, that looks great. Next up, we can move on to finish our grass, and then we can make our flowers and our bees, and then that will be it for our drawing. We could add some shadows and stuff to the trees coming from the sun, but I figured since it's a little cloudy, maybe they don't have as many shadows, and I think it looks really cute and pretty just as is without a bunch of like harsh shadows going through everything. So I think this looks awesome. I hope yours is coming along nicely. Let's go ahead and finish off this hill with some grass. So since this one's closer to us, we're going to see a little bit of grass detail. So on my layer menu, I'm just going to go above layer 3 here that has this hill on it. So we're below our other 2 tree layers that are on top of it. Again, those tree layers are done, so I'm going to snap the tops to their trunks like so. So now I'm on a layer in between the hill and the trees, right in the middle there. And I'm going to grab one of my slightly darker green colors, which is going to be this 7th one on the second row. And this time we're going to switch to our dry ink brush under the inking category. So go ahead and find that. I have my opacity 100. My size I'll do at like 10, but do whatever works for you. So if you push really hard and you want a lower size, go ahead and do a lower size. If you push really light and you want a thicker size, go ahead and make it a little bigger. But I'm just going to have all the grass kind of flowing in this kind of at a slight angle, so it looks like it's kind of blowing in the breeze. So I'm just gonna kind of pick like a direction, so I'm just slightly angled this way, and I'm just gonna go through and make some really quick little grass lines, some together, some further, like some by themselves, some longer, shorter, kind of whatever works. Nothing too terribly long, we're not that, close to it, but just some good grass lines like so. That looks great. That's it for all of that. Now we can make our flowers and our bees. So this is going to be lots and lots of fun. So on my layer menu, I'm going to add a layer to the very top of everything, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with our flowers. So we're actually going to start with the centers of the flowers. They're going to be like little daisies. So sometimes we'll just see them like kind of horizontally where we only see the bottom of the flower petals and our middle is on top. And sometimes we'll see the whole flower like face forward where we see a circle in the center and the whole flower around it. But we're only going to do a few so that they don't run into each other. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my first color on the bottom row and my monoline brush at 30%. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to make 2 big flowers in the center that our bees are kind of hovering over. So I'm going to go a little to the left of like what center would be and up a little ways from the bottom of my canvas. So maybe about here, kind of like halfway between the top and bottom of this hill. And I'm going to make a nice oval, hold it down until it turns nice and smooth. You can click the edit ellipse button at the top to adjust it if you want. So you can like change the angle of it, change the height of it, anything like that. But we want a good kind of like flat-ish oval. Not super flat, but about like this, again, angled this way. Good ways from the bottom of my canvas, a little to the left of what center would be, and fill that in. I'm going to go a little to the right of that and make another one angled the other way. Doesn't have to be the exact same size or anything. Fill that in. So those are going to be my 2 main flowers. So just for example's sake, our petals are going to go like this on both of them. So we don't want we don't want to start another flower like right next to it. So I'm going to erase those. But yeah, we're going to go a good ways away from that. And the rest of these are maybe going to be going like off the edge a little bit, and that's okay. So I'm going to do another kind of like angled oval, like over here. Fill that in. So that one's going to be angled as well, where we only see the bottom of the flowers. I'll do another one to the right a little bit, again, angled. Fill that in. Then I'm going to make 2 that are face forward. So closer to the bottom, I'm going to do like an actual circle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle, but closer to a circle than the others have been. So I'll do one there. Maybe I'll do one like really close to the bottom of the screen here, like so. So those are all my centers. So I know that looks kind of funny right now, but we will get the rest of it. Let's get our petals in place so that we can see how that's looking. So on my layer menu, I'm going to add a layer below my centers. I'm calling them like my egg yolks. So below my centers there, new layer. We're going to grab our bright white color, fifth one on the top row, same monoline brush, and I'm going to start with my biggest ones here. So again, I'm going to make a full shape to connect around. So I'm going to start like in the middle of the center at the top here, underneath it, and then I'm going to come out of the side, make my few petals, drawing pretty quickly to get some nice smooth lines, go underneath it so it connects to the beginning, and then you can fill it in. So again, do that multiple times if you need to get some nice smooth lines. So yeah, drawing pretty quick makes that easier. Okay, but nothing perfect. They can be nice and just kind of fun. I'll do the same thing for this one. So we see the other side, fill that in. Okay, these other little angled ones, we're going to do the same thing. If they go off the edge of the screen, that's okay. A little smaller, perhaps. Okay. And then these other ones so that we're going to see all of them, I'm going to start a little ways away from it and make petals like this. Fill them in. So something like that for each, and they can be kind of small or go off the bottom of the canvas. Just make sure you connect to the beginning so you can fill it in. So something like that. I think that looks nice and cute. If you want to, again, just like our trees, you can move them around. So if they're not overlapping, you can go to your layer menu, select one, slide right on the other, don't snap them together, but select one, slide right on the other so they're both selected, grab your selection tool, and you could like select around this one, and then you can move it around, resize it, anything like that. If they're going off the edge, you might need to fix them up if you bring them up at all, if that makes, because they're going to be cut off there. But feel free to move some around if you need to, but they can just kind of look nice and cute together like that. Okay, let's go ahead and make our stems for them next. So whatever we can see, these bottom ones we might not see much stems for, but that's okay. Layer menu, I'm going to add a layer below the flower layers that we have so far, right above our tree layers. Grab our fifth color on the bottom row, and our monoline brush, I'm going to go back up to 100% to draw our stems. So this one here, I'm just going to start towards the center, draw a nice stem, maybe draw a stem here if you can see one, or here kind of just whatever, angled, curved, whatever looks good. Same layer, we'll make our leaves. I'll drop back down to 30% for that. So once our stems are in place, 30%, same brush, and we're just going to make some really basic leaf shapes, fill them in. Leaf shape, fill it in, whatever works. I like to drop my size just for better control, but you could have left it at 100 too, just to get your leaf shapes nice and thick and filled in. But something like that looks good. Now we're just going to add a little bit of texture, shadow highlight to it. So we're going to do the same thing for our centers and our flowers as well. So we're on our stem layer there. Let's just stay there. Click on that layer in our layer menu, turn on alpha lock, and we have a darker and lighter version of the same green. So we're going to grab the darker one next, sixth one on the bottom row. Back to our ghost brush under the painting category at like 5% or adjust your size if you need to. And with this, I'm just going to hit like the lower ends of the leaves. And maybe along some of the stem is fine. No real specific details aside from just the lower side of the leaves. Then we're going to switch to our lighter color, seventh one on the bottom row, and hit the tops of the leaves for a little bit of a highlight and maybe part of the stem too if you want. Just to get some more kind of variation going. Oh, and I forgot we could add a shadow with our darker color under our flower as well. So let's go back to our darker color again. And then I'll add that kind of like right under the flower there where it kind of covers it a little bit. So it casts a shadow there. So something like that for our leaves and stems. Easy enough. We'll do the same thing for our next layers. So next one is our flower layer. Let's click on that and turn on alpha lock. And we're going to grab our fourth color on the bottom row. It's slightly kind of darker, a little shadow color. So I'm just going to go lightly around at the centers of the flowers with this. Just to create like a little bit of a shadow there. Okay, so something like that looks good. Then for our centers, the same thing, layer menu, click on that layer, turn on alpha lock, and we have a darker and lighter version of it. So second one on the bottom row is our darker color, and that's going to go around our edges that we can see. So like we can't really see the back edge of these like more oval ones. So just like the front edge of those. These ones will go all the way around a little bit, not much. So yeah, something like that for our shadowy color. Then our lighter color, third one on the bottom row, will hit in the center. So like these ones where the center is kind of like at the top, we're just going to start at the top and work our way part way down. And then these ones will just go right in the middle. So something like that for our flowers. Okay, and then finally we just need to add our bees. They're going to be very, very simple. So let's go ahead and do that. So layer menu, I'm going to add a new layer to the very top, and then we're going to make our base bee shape. So we're going to grab our first bee color, which is the 8th one on the bottom row, back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab, and we'll make just some quick ovals for our bodies. So again, I'm kind of center them around the flowers here. So I'll make one here, hold that down, click the ellipse button to adjust it after you hold it down. So I might make it a little fatter from top to bottom, but that's about good for his body size. Fill that in. And then I'll make the other one maybe over here a little smaller perhaps, or just angled a little differently. So their faces are pointing towards the middle. So he's like this, and then the other one maybe like this. Maybe a little smaller. Not that much smaller though. Fill that in. And we can move them around in a second too, but let's start here. I'm going to go to my layer menu, click on this layer, turn on alpha lock, grab our stripy color, which is our 9th one on the bottom row, and this will be our stripe. So I'm going to start just kind of in the middle. I'm going to curve towards the back. So again, his face is in the front towards the center. So we're going to kind of curve this way slightly. Just going to kind of fill that in with my brush is fine. And then same thing on our other guy facing the other way. So kind of like this. Filling that all the way in as I go. Okay, leaving enough room for like a little face on the front. So for the face, let's just grab our blackest color, 9th one on the second row. Same brush, I might go up to 50%. And we're just going to make our eyeball. So I'm just going to tap for a quick dot towards the top of the front of his face. Then a little cheek as well. So I'm going to switch to my pink color. Last one on the last row. And we're just going to make a little cheek under his face or under his eye. So if you need to like adjust the size of your pen, go ahead and do so. I made it and held it down. Adjust that if you need to after you hold it down as well. But I'm just kind of going a quick little round there. Maybe something like this. Fill it in if you need to. But those are his cheeks. Now we need his wings. So on my layer menu, I'm going to add a new layer above the bees. Grab our bright white color, 5th one on the top row. So our wings are going to start with like a little straight line. So kind of angled on his back here, like towards the top over the black stripe, a little quick line there. Kind of angled like this. Then I'm going to curve around it, hold that down, fill that in or adjust it if you need to. Nice little, it's kind of a little fat wing. That's really cute. Same thing on the other one. So we'll angle a little differently towards the back. Nice little wing shape there. Fill that in so they can look a little different. That's fine. Okay, layer menu. I'm going to click the N on this layer and drag the opacity down a little bit so it's a little see-through, maybe to like 80%. Then we need to see a little bit of his back wing. So on my layer menu, I'm going to make a layer underneath the bee bodies and do the same thing. So same color. I'm just going to kind of make the top first, just kind of on the other side, a little curve. Fill that in whatever we can see there. A little curve popping up. Trying to make it kind of similar in shape and size. So something like that. And then again, layer menu, click the N, set the opacity to 80. So then when they overlap a little bit, you can see where they overlap, but otherwise they're a little transparent. That looks really cute. Lastly, we just need a shadow on the bottom of his body. So on my layer menu, I'm going to go to my B body layer, add a layer above that. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask, our first clipping mask of the day. Click the N, set it this layer style to multiply. So this is because we have the yellow and blackish color on the same layer, and we want a shadow on both of them. So we can't pick a darker yellow color and then a darker black color. They would bleed into each other. So we need to affect them all at the same time. So to do that, we're on a multiply layer. We're going to grab our last color on the second row and back to our gouache brush. And essentially we're just going to go towards the bottom, and I'm just going to work my way in and kind of add in a shadow there, kind of curvy like so. But again, that gives us a shadow on the yellow and the kind of blacky stripe color, so that we get a shadow over all of it all at once. So once that's done, if you want to move them around at all, you can go to your layer menu. We can actually, since we're fully done, we can snap all 4 of those layers together. So the wings, the clipping mask, all that can be snapped together if you're happy with them. Or again, select all 4 layers that make them up by selecting one and sliding right on the others. But either way, with your B layers selected, grab your selection tool. You can select around one, click your arrow tool, and then you can move it around, rotate it, anything, resize it, anything like that. But I want them to be kind of nice and high towards the top of like this hill, maybe even, just so that it, shows that they're like really in the foreground of our picture here. But maybe something about like that looks good. Feel free to move around your sun or anything else that you would like to, but I think that looks good there. So once you're happy with the way everything is placed, that is it for our drawing today. So I hope that you had fun. I hope that you liked the way that yours turned out. I hope that you maybe learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and let me know what you thought down below in the comments. The likes and comments really help out my channel, so I really appreciate it. And if you have any ideas for future tutorials, go ahead and leave those in the comments below as well. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any future tutorials from me. And if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.